Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. All right, so I learned apparently I've got a... Sorry. Not a good place. All right, wireless cut off. Yeah, so I just learned apparently this is a Zoom function, so let's just see. Okay. All right, excellent. I've never used one of these before. All right, yeah, so thank you so much for coming, everybody. It's such an incredible pleasure for me to be here alongside, such great American colleagues. I'm really looking forward to what they have to say. Talking about kids as well, by the way, Kat is a hard-working physician and with 5 kids, and so a lot of hard-working people that are putting their heart and soul into this. All right, so what I want to talk about, actually, I thought about, okay, with our American colleagues and friends coming, I wanted to talk about something sort of, that kind of unifies us. There's many things. One of the things for those of us that are speaking up that unifies us are the constant attacks against us, the constant smearing, and the constant accusations that we are constantly providing misinformation or even disinformation. All right, so I want to address that issue for a moment. And but with that in mind, sort of ignore the misinformation for a moment, because the next slide is not misinformation. But for those of you who don't know, right, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's thrown his hat into the contest to try and become the next president of the United States, okay? So with that said, I wasn't expecting, this isn't sort of part of my presentation, but I have to say it's kind of interesting. When I first woke up to what was going on, a couple of years ago, especially with the vaccines, because all the vaccine science fell right in my wheelhouse. Right, I am a scientist that will follow the science and will change my opinions if I feel it's necessary. But I do have to admit that, prior to that, I was a classical vaccinologist and preached that all vaccines are wonderful. And I actually, in lectures, referred to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as an anti-vaxxer. And just so that you know, I did meet him probably a couple of years ago, and online. So I never had the chance to talk to him. And I kept hoping I would meet him so that I could apologize for that. So just so you know, I did call him up and talk to him personally and apologize for doing that. Well, so I know this is being recorded, so I just wanted to be on the public record somewhere, right? That I did apologize and do apologize to him for that. He did forgive me, which I really appreciate. And what I appreciate now is he just wants safe medicines. That's all, right? And also I wanted to show this and put it on public record because, I can't expect others to be offering or asking for forgiveness from us if we don't demonstrate it as well. So to all those that do accuse us of providing misinformation, it is possible to admit that you're wrong and apologize and seek forgiveness. Okay? So one of the things I just wanted to highlight then is, so I actually did a couple Substack articles. I got studying Timothy Caulfield. So for American friends, if you don't know, he's been smearing you as much as he has people in Canada. He's our misinformation guru in Canada. I wrote a couple of Substack articles and said, okay, I'm done with this, right? I've spent enough time with this guy. But I did reserve the right to come back and deal with it if I felt that he was continuing to cause me and others harm, which he definitely has been. So I'm coming back to it. This guy is actually a really interesting study. If you were a psychologist, I think you'd find this a fascinating study. All right, but what I want to point out here is, so I'm just going to use him because he's the expert in misinformation. I'm going to show you the dangers of this whole concept of misinformation and accusing people of misinformation, right? So keep this in mind. He's our misinformation guru. He uses your money, your public funds. He's actually received grants based on your taxpayer dollars to work on Twitter. That is his workspace, equivalent to the University of Alberta that he's from. So that is part of his paid workspace, and he's to use that to identify and teach you about misinformation, okay? And so keeping that in mind, that he's going to, and he, as a result, he's also won the Order of Canada as a result of that, okay? So he is the gold standard. So no, that's fine, right? He's the gold standard. So what I wanted to do is just quickly study the gold standard for misinformation in Canada, all right? Keeping this in mind, because I wanted to equip you with information, that's the thing, right? We all gather together. what we can do as experts is equip you with information to help discuss these issues with your friends, and you can show them these materials. So, I just wanted to show you as an example. Our expert on everything to do with medicine stated on March 12th, all right? So March 12th, right here, he put out to all Canadians, right, that the AstraZeneca vaccine says that there's, quoting the European Union, there's no indication of the vaccine linked to clots. He wanted to assure all of Canada that there was no indication of these vaccines linked to clots. So I just wanted to show you. I didn't know that he'd done this. Didn't know who this guy was until a few months ago. All right, but on March 16th, and actually we started drafting this letter on the very same day, March 12th, interestingly enough. So pretty much the exact same time, it was on March 16th, where myself and a couple of colleagues put out an open letter to all Canadians. As you can see here, right, dear fellow Canadians. I just want to point out that experts, real experts, do know what they're talking about. So at the very same time that he was telling Canadians that there's no association with clots, we were trying to forewarn Canadians that consideration should be given to avoiding the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine, in part because its use has been suspended in at least 10 European countries until undesirable potential side effects can be further investigated. Those are the clots. So yeah, I'll just say, who was right? Who has the expertise when it comes to the vaccines? The other thing, this one I think is pretty, I got to advance here. So, this is one that's pretty straightforward, right? He has constantly pushed the idea that anybody trying to promote the idea that the SARS-CoV-2 could have all been manipulated or could have all been the result of gain-of-function research was what? A conspiracy theory, right? He likes name calling. The people who cause misinformation experts give us a lot of labels and name calling. So conspiracy believers, right? Well, how many people think it's a conspiracy theory now? I mean, just look at what's happened in the United States, right? It's pretty darn clear. Most people now are accepting that this was due to gain-of-function research, okay? So again, who are the real experts? And then, okay, so this is one that's interesting. I gotta figure out how to advance these things. Is it possible to go back one slide? There we go. Okay, yeah, so here's something. So here's another strategy that he's used. So he has taught people, right here, about preprint articles. So if you don't know, preprint articles are scientific manuscripts that haven't yet been peer-reviewed and published, right? And I don't disagree with him here, right? So he wants the public to know that you can't really place too much weight. You shouldn't be using these preprint articles, is his argument, right, to justify statements that you're making. But then what did he do? He's promoting the idea that immune boosting is fake science. And he does this by showing, this was at an academic presentation that he gave, by showing his own preprint article. It has not been published, but it was a preprint article. So he's a hypocrite. He's a hypocrite. That's the fact. Okay, I'm showing you the facts, and you can dispute this. So, this is interesting. At Columbia University in the United States, he gave a presentation about how you deal with COVID misinformation. And take a look at this. There's a list here of effective debunking techniques. One of them, take a look at this, is when you're dealing with the misinformation artists, you be nice, authentic, empathetic, and humble. And look, but this is important, right? Because we're here to follow the science. I agree 100% with him. I do not disagree. He's absolutely correct. And he has a good peer-reviewed paper that he cited here. Right? Look at what it says. Hot topics in science communication. Aggressive language decreases trustworthiness and credibility in scientific debates. The other thing, which is interesting, which I don't have time to show you the specific slide here, he'll also highlight that what you also do is you highlight the misinformation. And what he tells everybody is he takes notes, he takes screenshots, and he puts notes that indicate exactly what is wrong on that screenshot, right? That is what he's told the Canadian government is an effective strategy, and he's told the Canadian government when he gets his funding that is what he does, because that's how he educate people. So I went and looked at his Twitter account to get some examples, okay? So let's take a look. So you tell me if he's meeting his own standards, his own peer-reviewed science. Is he following the science? Take a look at this, right? So This is when Dr. Malhotra expressed concerns about, myocarditis and so on. So these are his notes, right, to explain what was wrong with his messaging, right? And he's being very respectful in his communication, right? And so even though this is an abbreviation, it means the same thing, right, as the full words. And so I'm going to show you something else here. Oh, yeah, and then, of course, making fun of people who are being denied life-saving transplants, right? It's crazy. So then this is the other thing. We have, so this is another example, right? Wrong. That's great feedback to the public, right? To teach us about misinformation. So here's another one, where, and I just looked at this very briefly, pulled this up. This is all the crap, right, that people talk about in terms of boosting the immune system. And I'm not meaning that literally, but that's how he puts it, right? It's right, we got naturopaths here, right? He talks them, he talks naturopaths. I just saw yoga on the top of the list. I don't know how many of you perform yoga, right? But I am an immunologist, and I understand the benefits of exercise. So just so that he knows, he puts that right at the top of the list. Over here, I don't know if you can see, there's been lots of papers showing the benefits of yoga in the context of the immune system. How many people understand COVID-19, severe COVID-19, the key problem is severe inflammation? Look at the conclusion here. These results imply that yoga may be implemented as a complementary intervention for populations at risk or already suffering from diseases with an inflammatory component. He didn't share that with the public, did he? Okay, so I'm going to wrap up here in just a moment. Oh, but this is one thing, it's very important, I think. Yeah, this is really important. If Glenn could just give me a couple minutes, this is important for all of us, including the doctors that are just about to speak, because we're always being attacked. And this is the key thing, we're always offering ourselves up for public discussions, respectful public discussions, and these people never engage us. So, again, I said, let's follow the science when it comes to that, right? So what does the science say? Canada is a misinformation guru. We just have another minute, Glenn, because it's very important. All right, so what does the science say? Again, this is peer-reviewed science. Here it is with your own eyes. He's teaching people, right, at his presentation at Columbia University, and I'll read it here for you. So when it comes to dealing with people who deny real science, the misinformation spreaders, right, in public discussions, this is what the science found. We found no evidence that rebutting science denialism in public discussions backfires. There's no evidence that it backfires. It causes no harm. So this is awesome. What? A physician would tell you, do no harm. Therefore, having public discussions, even with people who you think are absolutely wrong with the science, can do no harm to the people who are listening. No harm. All right? That's what the science says. Amazingly, they highlight U.S. conservatives as a particularly vulnerable group. So what I just want to show, that is what the science says, right? So now look at this. This is what he told them. This is his conclusion about the science and what you should do. Yes, it's worth arguing with science deniers. Okay? And here are some techniques you can use. That is what he was promoting.
Whoa.
You do engage with people, and you can do it in public discussions, and it will cause no harm. He's our misinformation guru. There's the science. And this is an example. One of my good colleagues in British Columbia was very frustrated because this guy attacks everybody, including the doctors who are going to be speaking. Okay? And take a look at this. In this article, I'll just highlight it here, he refused to debate with a professor of neurology from the University of British Columbia. Right? And this university professor is very frustrated because he gets attacked constantly by this guy and many others. And look what he said. Public debate can be counter